I used to sleep sitting up, and not because I wanted to. Every time I tried lying flat, acid crept up my throat within 20 minutes, like somebody lit a match behind my chest. One bottle of antacids a week turned into 2 bottles, which turned into my doctor putting me on omeprazole. That worked for a while until I started reading about what long-term proton pump inhibitor use actually does to your bones, your kidneys, and your ability to absorb magnesium. And that scared me more than the heartburn ever did. What I went looking for wasn't one magic plant. I wanted a system, a progression that could take me from mild, occasional burning all the way up to the stubborn, nothing else is working kind of reflux. That is what this video covers. 4 plants, arranged from mildest to strongest, where you start with the first one and only move up if you need to. Your grandmother probably handed you chamomile tea when your stomach hurt. She didn't know the biochemistry behind it, but she knew it worked. And that instinct goes back a very long time. Healers across Egypt, Greece, and Rome relied on chamomile for digestive complaints over 2,000 years ago. One of the oldest medical texts ever found, the Ebers Papyrus, dated around 1550 BCE, already mentions chamomile for stomach ailments. And now we understand what's behind that. Chamomile contains a natural anti-inflammatory compound that relaxes the smooth muscle lining your digestive tract. When that muscle goes into spasm, which is part of what makes reflux feel so violent, that compound settles it down. A 2010 review published in Molecular Medicine Reports noted that preclinical studies on chamomile extract showed reductions in gastric acid output and inhibition of the stomach bacterium tied to ulcers and chronic gastritis. To use it for reflux, steep 2 teaspoons of dried chamomile flowers in 8 ounces of hot water for a full 10 minutes. Drink it about 30 minutes after your last meal, not with the food itself, because you want it to coat and calm before you lie down. One thing to keep in mind if you're allergic to ragweed, because chamomile belongs to the same plant family. Start with a small amount and watch for cross reactions. That's your starting point. Mild, occasional heartburn, especially the kind brought on by stress or eating too fast, may respond to chamomile alone. When reflux isn't mild, when the burning kicks in before you even finish eating and your esophagus feels like it has no protection left, you need something that physically coats the tissue. The inner bark of a slippery elm tree produces a substance called mucilage, a thick polysaccharide that absorbs water and expands into a viscous, gel-like film. That coating ability is the entire reason this plant works for reflux. Slippery elm grows native to eastern North America, and the Cherokee, Iroquois, and Ojibwe nations relied on it for sore throats, wounds, and inflamed stomachs long before European colonizers arrived. And that mucilage is exactly what makes it useful for reflux, because it physically lines your esophagus and stomach with a protective gel layer. Acid still gets produced underneath, but it can't make direct contact with your tissue. Picture a temporary shield sitting between you and the burn. A 16-week Australian clinical study tested a gut health formula that included slippery elm alongside curcumin, guar gum, and other ingredients. Participants reported drops in heartburn frequency, bloating, and reflux symptoms across the board. And 40% of those who had been taking proton pump inhibitors before the study were able to reduce their reflux medication. Slippery elm's individual contribution wasn't isolated in the trial, but those results line up with what traditional herbalists have observed for centuries. To prepare it, mix 1 tablespoon of slippery elm bark powder into a cup of warm water and stir until it thickens to the consistency of thin porridge. Drink it 20 minutes before meals or right before bed if nighttime reflux is the main problem. One warning on timing. Slippery elm can slow the absorption of medications if you take them together, so keep at least a 2-hour gap between this and any prescriptions. Slippery elm gives your tissue a barrier, and that barrier buys time to heal. What happens, though, when the damage has been building for months or even years, and you need something that goes deeper than a temporary coat? Most people think of aloe vera as something you rub on a sunburn. What they don't realize is that the same anti inflammatory compounds that heal damaged skin can do the same thing inside your digestive tract, and the clinical evidence behind it is unusually strong. A 2015 randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Traditional Chinese Medicine put aloe vera syrup head to head against omeprazole and ranitidine, two of the most commonly prescribed reflux drugs. 79 GERD patients received one of the three treatments for 4 weeks, and the results surprised the researchers. Aloe vera reduced the frequency of all 8 assessed GERD symptoms, including heartburn, acid regurgitation, nausea, and belching, with no adverse events that required withdrawal. It performed comparably to both pharmaceutical options. What separates aloe vera from the first two plants on this list is that it doesn't just coat. Aloe vera actively reduces inflammation in the esophageal and stomach lining while supporting the body's own mucus production. Research has shown that glycoproteins in aloe vera help reduce the secretion of gastric acid and pepsin, while other compounds increase anti inflammatory markers and decrease the molecules that drive tissue damage. That combination of effects means aloe vera works on multiple fronts at once: calming, protecting, and repairing. The form you use matters. You want interleaf aloe vera juice or gel that has been decolorized and purified. That processing removes a compound called aloin, which is found in the outer leaf and acts as a strong laxative. Look for labels that say purified, decolorized, or inner fillet only. Dosing from the clinical research calls for about 10 milliliters of aloe vera syrup per day, which works out to roughly 2 teaspoons. Take it on an empty stomach about 20 minutes before a meal. Some people split the dose between morning and evening. One caution: aloe vera can interact with certain medications, including diuretics and blood thinners. If you're on any prescriptions, check with your doctor before adding it to your routine. The first three plants on this list work by calming tissue, coating it, or helping it rebuild. None of them address the kind of reflux where the real problem isn't too much acid, but a valve that won't close and food that won't move. That's a completely different mechanism. You finish a normal sized dinner, and within 30 minutes, your stomach feels like it's holding on to everything, heavy, distended, pressing upward against your diaphragm. That upward pressure forces the lower esophageal sphincter open from below, and acid leaks through. The cause isn't overproduction, it's slow motility, and that's where ginger earns its place at the serious end of this lineup. Ginger acts as a prokinetic, meaning it speeds up gastric emptying, the rate at which food moves from your stomach into your small intestine. A 2008 study in the European Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology gave healthy volunteers 1,200 milligrams of ginger before a meal, and the result was roughly a 25% acceleration in gastric emptying. That's the gap between food sitting in your stomach, pushing acid upward, and food moving along on schedule. Two active compounds, gingerols and shogaols, relax the lower intestinal tract while toning the upper digestive muscles. Ginger doesn't just push food through, it coordinates the whole process. For reflux specifically, slice a 1-inch piece of fresh ginger root and simmer it, not boil, in 2 cups of water for 15 minutes, then strain it. Drink that about 20 minutes before your largest meal of the day. If your reflux comes with active esophageal inflammation or erosion, raw ginger can sting on the way down. Ginger capsules at 250 milligrams taken with food will bypass the throat entirely and still deliver the same prokinetic effect. You do not take all four of these at once, and the whole point of the progression is starting at the beginning. Chamomile handles occasional stress related heartburn on its own. If that's not enough, slippery elm taken before meals adds physical barrier protection. When the burning persists, aloe vera brings anti inflammatory and tissue healing properties that go deeper than coating alone. And if slow digestion turns out to be the root cause, ginger targets the motility problem directly. Certain combinations pair well together. Aloe vera in the morning with slippery elm before meals covers both deep repair and surface protection. Ginger before dinner with chamomile before bed handles both motility and nighttime symptoms at the same time. Start with one, give it 2 full weeks, and your body will tell you whether you need to move up. 4 plants, one clear progression, and every step backed by real research and real traditional use. I want to know which one you're going to try first, so comment below. And if you've already used any of these for reflux, tell me what worked, because that kind of shared experience carries more weight than anything I can say in a video. Consider subscribing if this was helpful. Every video on this channel is focused on a real health concern and the plants that the research supports.